Why does Denmark, a small nation of roughly 5.9 million people, own the world's largest island? The answer is straightforward. 300 years of colonial rule and the chain of economic dependency it created. Greenland spans roughly 2.16 million square kilometers, about 830,000 square miles. That's approximately 50 times the size of mainland Denmark. Yet, as of 2024, only about 56,000 people call it home. Why does this strange relationship of dominance persist? This slide reveals the structure behind it. In 1721, Denmark-Norway launched a mission to recolonize and Christianize Greenland. 300 years on, that relationship continues, transformed but unbroken. Greenland has its own government. Yet that government depends on Danish subsidies, roughly $600 million a year, for more than 50% of its revenues. Without fiscal independence, there is no real independence. And beneath the ice, resources lie dormant. Greenland is believed to hold some of the world's largest untapped rare earth deposits. In 2019, Trump seriously considered purchasing the island, a deal media reports framed in the hundreds of billions of dollars. Multiple studies and official statistics bear out a picture defined by colonial history, fiscal transfers, strategic positioning, and natural resources. This is not speculation. The data reveals one of the most consequential case studies in contemporary geopolitics. And this is understandable. Look at the history and the fiscal data. Follow the maps and the resource distribution. The structure of power surrounding Greenland comes into focus. Today, that data is what we examine. In 1721, a Danish-Norwegian pastor named Hans Egede landed on Greenland. The official purpose was Christian missionary work. But examine the historical context, and a different reality emerges. The North Atlantic was, at the time, one of the world's most critical trade corridors. The waters around Greenland were rich in three commercial resources: fur, whale oil, and fish. Control of those resources determined national wealth. Sweden, the Netherlands, and Britain were all competing for dominance in the North Atlantic. Securing Greenland meant securing a decisive advantage in that competition. Religion was nothing more than a tool used to legitimize colonial control. And 1721 was only the starting point. Throughout the 18th century, trade monopolies and governing institutions were built up, layer by layer. Colonial rule is not established overnight. It is accumulated through institutions. You're likely asking yourself this question: but why did Denmark maintain its grip all this time? The answer is simple. Once established, strategic interests don't get relinquished, because rivals will move to claim them. 300 years of colonial rule. That legacy is the starting point for understanding Greenland today. In 1951, Denmark and the United States signed a defense agreement covering Greenland. That agreement established the framework for American military operations on the island. This decision would shape the geopolitical balance for the next 70 years. Look at the map. The logic is undeniable. Greenland sits directly along the shortest flight path between Moscow and Washington. Soviet ballistic missiles traveling through the Arctic would necessarily cross this airspace. Thule Air Base was constructed at 76 degrees north, deep in the Arctic. Early warning radar positioned here could provide minutes of additional warning before a nuclear strike. During the Cold War, that was a function tied directly to national survival. In 1968, a critical incident occurred. A B-52 bomber carrying nuclear weapons crashed near Thule Air Base. This became known as the Thule Air Base B-52 crash. No nuclear detonation occurred, but a nuclear accident on Danish soil became a serious political crisis. Yet the Danish government could not demand the base be closed. The base's strategic value had given the United States a level of leverage that made such demands untenable. The Cold War ended. But the mission evolved and continues. In April 2023, the base was redesignated Patuxent Space Base following its transfer to the U.S. Space Force. Its primary missions are now missile warning and space domain awareness. The geopolitical value is unchanged. Only the players and the technology have shifted. This is the mechanism by which a small nation like Denmark has maintained its security within the NATO framework. What lies beneath Greenland's ice sheet? The answer to that question is the real substance of the current struggle over Greenland. First, rare earths. Electric vehicles, smartphones, wind turbines, military weapons systems. Rare earth elements underpin the modern industrial and defense economy. According to 2024 USGS data, Greenland's confirmed reserves are estimated at roughly 1.5 million metric tons. But in terms of undeveloped resource potential, this is among the regions identified as having some of the world's greatest untapped upside. A word of caution on the numbers. Reserves refers to what is confirmed economically viable to extract. Resources is a broader estimate. Greenland's value lies in the latter, its enormous potential. The policy focus has also shifted. The question is no longer what percentage of the world's supply, it's who develops it, how, and whose supply chain it flows into. The EU's Critical Raw Materials Act, which came into force in 2024, institutionalized exactly that kind of supply chain diversification. Next, hydrocarbons. A 2008 USGS estimate suggested that the Arctic holds a significant share of the world's undiscovered, technically recoverable oil and gas resources. But these are undiscovered resource estimates, not confirmed reserves, and commercial development faces many additional hurdles. And climate change is reshaping the context. Research has explored how ice sheet melt could alter access conditions. But the timeline for expanded extraction remains highly uncertain, contingent on market conditions, regulation, and infrastructure investment. The resources have always been there. The question is, who can get to them, and on whose terms? In 2009, Greenland dramatically expanded its autonomy under the Self-Government Act. Education, policing, the judiciary. These now fall under the Greenlandic self-government's authority. What remains, foreign affairs and defense, is still managed by Denmark. On the surface, this looks like a major step toward independence. But the fiscal data tells a different story. Denmark's block grant, roughly $600 million annually, accounts for more than 50% of Greenland's government revenues. A nation that depends on another country's subsidies for half its budget cannot achieve full independence in any meaningful sense. And the structure of Greenland's economy reveals how deep the problem runs. The fishing industry anchors exports and generates the bulk of foreign exchange, a single-sector dependency that creates significant structural fragility. In theory, there is one exit. Resource development. If rare earth and oil revenues could make Greenland fiscally self-sufficient, independence becomes a realistic option. But in 2021, a decisive moment arrived. The Inuit Ataqatigiit Party, which opposed development of the Kvanefjeld rare earth mine, won the general election. Parliament subsequently passed a ban on uranium mining, and major rare earth development projects entered what amounts to a state of suspension. Resources or environment. When the population made a democratic choice in favor of environmental protection, it put them on a collision course with the ambitions of major powers. The resource-funded independence scenario has now retreated substantially. It's not only a chain of dependency, it's a structural reality in which the population's own choices constrain its future. In August 2019, the Wall Street Journal reported that President Trump was exploring the purchase of Greenland. Denmark's Prime Minister dismissed the idea as absurd. But writing this off as a joke would be a mistake. Behind the purchase proposal lies a calculated geopolitical logic. Roughly 80% of America's rare earth consumption depends on imports from China. In an era of U.S.-China competition for technological supremacy, that dependence is a critical vulnerability. Greenland's resource potential has drawn attention as one possible answer to that problem. At the same time, Arctic competition is intensifying. Russia is building new military installations in the Arctic. China has officially declared itself a near-Arctic state and is deepening its engagement with Arctic sea routes. NATO's 2022 strategic concept identified Arctic security as a priority. Pituffik Space Base alone is insufficient to address this new competitive reality. Stronger engagement with Greenland is one option for securing America's strategic position. The purchase was rejected, but the underlying problem has not gone away. As competition with China intensifies, the debate over expanded engagement through means beyond a simple purchase is likely to resurface. military capability enhancement, economic assistance, diplomatic pressure. The tools are varied. The objective is not. One note. The figure of $1 trillion that circulated in media coverage was never an officially proposed number. It was an estimate that spread through media and analyst commentary. But the accuracy of that figure matters less than something else. What matters is that the United States genuinely views Greenland as a serious strategic asset. Historically, in 1867, the U.S. purchased Alaska from Russia. Territory with geopolitical value can change hands, but only when both parties agree. The Greenland question is not a bilateral conversation. At minimum, 4 distinct actors are involved, each with different interests at stake. Consider Denmark's position. By paying roughly $600 million in subsidies each year, Denmark maintains its sovereignty over Greenland. But that financial burden strains its budget. At the same time, relinquishing Greenland would transfer its strategic value to another power. For Denmark, the status quo is the most rational available choice. What about the Greenlandic self-government? The desire for independence is strong, but fiscal realities and the population's own choices constrain it. The 2021 decision to ban uranium mining substantially set back the scenario of achieving fiscal independence through resource revenues. Before the question of which country's capital to accept, there is a prior question, whether to develop at all. America is direct. If purchase is off the table, it will pursue influence through other means. Military capability enhancement, economic assistance, diplomatic pressure. The tools are varied. The objective is not. China and Russia are engaged indirectly. As Arctic sea routes become increasingly viable, Greenland's geopolitical value rises further, and the nature of the competition itself is changing. The Arctic's value is no longer defined by sea routes alone. The center of gravity has shifted toward the protection of space and satellite infrastructure, undersea communication cables, and surveillance networks. Surveillance, deterrence, and infrastructure protection, not military conflict, are the real arenas of competition. 4 actors, intersecting vectors, a new axis of competition. That is Greenland today. Now let's pull today's analysis together. Here's what the data tells us. First, the colonial legacy. What began in 1721 as missionary and recolonization work became, over the course of the 18th century, a structured system of governance, and that system persists today in the form of economic dominance. The 2009 Self-Government Act expanded Greenland's internal authority. But with more than 50% of government revenues still derived from Danish bloc grants, full independence remains structurally out of reach. Colonialism may end. Economic dependency is how it survives. Second, the compounding of strategic value. Pituffik Space Base, established under the 1951 U.S.-Denmark Defense Agreement, continues to function as a critical node for missile warning and space domain awareness. Add to that the world-scale rare earth resource potential, and what you have is a structural attractor for great power involvement. Trump's 2019 purchase proposal was the most visible expression of that dynamic, but what matters more than the accuracy of the price tag is the fact that the United States treats Greenland as a genuine strategic asset. Third, the structure of change. The resource-funded independence scenario retreated sharply in 2021 when the population itself made the democratic choice to freeze development. The tension between environmental protection and resource revenues is unresolved, and the axis of Arctic competition has shifted from sea routes toward the protection of space, satellite, and undersea communications infrastructure. Greenland is where the legacy of the colonial era and the great power competition of the 21st century intersect. It is the most consequential real-world laboratory in contemporary geopolitics. Here's the question worth sitting with. When the population chose environmental protection over resource development, did the path to independence genuinely lengthen? Or did they make a different kind of choice? A pursuit of independence that doesn't depend on foreign capital? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. Analyzing the real reasons behind world events through the lens of geopolitics and economics. That's what this channel is built to do. Not emotional debate, not surface-level news, the world, dissected through data and mechanism. Subscribe And let's keep reading the structure of the world together. Turn on notifications, and every time a new analysis drops, your understanding of the world moves up another level. Until next time.